1 week after building a shield to protect Roman Reigns, Vince McMahon took the next step of firmly establishing to the fans that Roman and only Roman is to be the dominant babyface on this show by seemingly turning Braun Strowman heel at the very end of Monday Night Raw. I say seemingly because the way this all went down was so bizarre and was so out of left field that I cannot be 100% sure this was a full-blown heel turn. I think it was, but there are a couple of points to keep in mind here. Number one, Strowman was attacked by 3 people the week before. And so him aligning at the end of the show this past week with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre to beat down the Shield could very well just be a revenge attack more than any kind of turn. And in a matter of weeks, he could just sort of cast them into the dustbin and lay both of them out once they lose their usefulness to him. Number two, he already handed his briefcase over to Baron Corbin earlier in the show. There was a backstage segment. This was after announcing at the beginning of the show that Braun said he was going to wait until Hell in a Cell on September 16th, I believe it is, to cash in his money in the bank, so that way they're inside the cell, and his little friends can't do anything to help him or save him. So then later in the show, we had a backstage segment, and Strowman physically handed the briefcase over to Baron Corbin to hold it, I guess. And had he truly turned heel, you would think that he would have gone back on his word about not cashing in like a coward, and after taking out all 3 members of the Shield at the very end of Raw, he would have cashed in Money in the Bank and won the championship. He didn't do that, which was very odd for somebody who apparently turned heel. Now, maybe he's not a chicken shit heel. Maybe he's just a tough guy heel, which is kind of refreshing, I guess, because not everybody should be a chicken shit heel, let alone Braun Strowman. But the signs are all there. You know, when the show was over, it wasn't just that he took out the Shield. He raised the hands. He raised the arms of Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler and posed with them to end the show. He didn't take them out. He didn't flatten them with power slams. He celebrated with them. 2 heels, which would be an incredibly stupid thing to do if the intent was not to turn the guy heel. Now, also keep in mind, for months now, Braun Strowman has tortured and terrorized Kevin Owens at every turn. Many times on this podcast, I've talked about how I was actually starting to feel sympathy for Kevin Owens because Braun Strowman was bullying this guy around so much to levels of absurdity. If this was a heel turn, it's one that they already planted the seeds for with the Kevin Owens program, because Braun, if we're being honest here, Braun Strowman has kind of been a dick for a while now. Now, last week, I pitched the idea of doing a Wyatt family reunion with Bray and Luke Harper, because the 2 of them have nothing to do at the moment. Bray just lost his tag team partner. And Luke, on SmackDown, just lost his tag team partner. One seemingly to retirement, the other one to an injury. And the timing could not have been better if they wanted to reunite the Wyatt family, just temporarily. I wouldn't look at it as like a long-term 6-month to a year thing where the Wyatts are fully back together. But they could have gotten them involved, and then you can let the fans choose sides and let them root for whoever they want to root for in a battle between the Shield and the Wyatt family. It's a very good chance they would have cheered for the Shield anyway in that feud. But I never, in that pitch that I made, I never once argued that that should be a heel turn, that they should turn Braun Strowman heel, because that would be pretty stupid. Having Braun Strowman raise the hands of 2 heels that he would never ordinarily be friendly with, because they're just so totally the polar opposite of him and what he represents, that, to me, is peak stupidity. Not for Vince McMahon, of course. For Vince McMahon, he knows exactly what he's doing. If you're Vince McMahon, it's brilliant. It's a stroke of genius if you're Vince McMahon. Let's get people to stop cheering for this man and build Roman Reigns and his buddies up as sympathetic characters. Now, that might work with Rollins and Ambrose because of the people love those 2. But, if you attack Roman Reigns, I guess it depends on what city you're in. People were booing at the end of this show. Toronto, though, certainly was not very fond of Roman when he first walked out at the beginning of the show. But their goal is to get Roman Reigns over as the heroic champion. I mean, this is patently obvious. He's been trying this and waiting for this for years now. They finally pulled the trigger and put the belt on this guy. They're not about to take the title off of him. And they're not about to, let the fans, kind of ruin their grand plan for what they have for Roman Reigns, who apparently now is the top merchandise seller in the company. That, for all you people out there hoping for a Roman Reigns turn, that is the kiss of death. Because we heard that with John Cena. The reason they never wanted to turn John Cena heel, he sells too much merch. He sells too many t-shirts. Cena himself admitted that at one point he thought he was going heel. He had music and he had new gear prepared. This was back around 2012. And what happened? Vince got cold feet. Sells too much merch. Can't do it. So if that report is true, that Reigns is now the number one merchandise seller in the company, then you can kiss any, not that it was probably going to happen anyway, but any possibility of that even happening, you can pretty much kiss that goodbye. Because that ain't going to happen. But the goal is to get Roman over as the heroic champion. Somebody had to be sacrificed for that, and Braun Strowman was that guy, and I think that sucks. Especially when you consider that they have now turned Braun Strowman and Becky Lynch within weeks of each other. Two stars that the fans genuinely like. All while staying the course on others that the fans don't. The fans love Dean Ambrose also. Right, and I've talked about turning him. You could argue, well, they love Ambrose. Why would you turn him? But I feel with somebody like Ambrose, I feel like they're ready for him to turn. I feel like they expect it. People expect it. They know it's coming at some point. It's been too long since we've seen him in that role, and I hope they do it. Even though he's got plenty of fans out there, I hope they do it. Let's see what Strowman's explanation is for this when he comes out on TV tomorrow night. I'm not sure the people. Because again, if he really is a heel now, especially coming off the stuff on SmackDown that they've done with Becky, and I think they're probably starting to figure out that they should have taken a slightly different approach with her. Although Becky is, she's doing great right now. She's one of the hottest acts in the company. I don't believe for a second that was their intent when they did what they did at SummerSlam. They sort of lucked into it. So she's not in a terrible position right now, but you can hear it when the announcers talk about her. And, Becky Lynch, why is she doing this? Why is she attacking her friend? They're framing it in such a way that it's obvious they think or want her to be a heel. I don't buy for a second that their expectation when they did what they did was that Becky would get over as some female version of Steve Austin. So, you look at what they've done recently and the decisions that the people in this company have made on this stuff. And if that's what they've done here with Braun Strowman, I'm not sure that the people in charge of making these decisions should even be in charge of deciding what color underwear to put on in the morning.